Hey, check it out, it's Jan, 1/3 of MediaShinobi, and I'm going to be reviewing The Legend of Korra, Book 4, Episode 3, entitled The Coronation. And before I begin, I would just like to take this opportunity to once again talk about all of the things that I thought were interesting enough to mention. We actually get to see Desna and Eska. We haven't seen them in quite a while, and the only thing I now ask for is for those two to meet Opal, because that's going to be extremely awkward and cringeworthy, but I can't help but want to watch that. We actually get to see the Fire Lord for the first time, officially speaking, and so that doesn't include the trailer. So that pretty much wraps up everything I thought that was interesting to note, and now to actually get into the review itself. So this episode revolves around two major things. The first one would be the political situation between Prince Wu and Kuvira, and second, Korra's first encounter with Toph. So this was somewhat of a Wu-centric episode, if you could even call it that, but he was definitely humanized within this episode. And he does acknowledge that he is useless. So if anything, that made him from a douchebag to a likable douchebag. So we finally get to see Kuvira actually assume her role as an antagonist, because she basically took advantage of Prince Wu's coronation and announced to the world that the Earth Kingdom shall now be proclaimed as the Earth Empire. And before I elaborate into greater detail, I would like to introduce MediaShinobi's first ever flashback. It's also interesting to note that after the events of Avatar: The Last Airbender up to this point, all of the hard work and effort that everyone put in was to make sure all four nations were to coexist in peace and tranquility. And slowly and surely, everyone started to, migrate and integrate into each other. Almost like a melting pot in a sense. And what would make Kuvira very different as a separationist in comparison to the last three is the last three wanted to integrate everyone together to achieve peace and tranquility. With Kuvira, the complete opposite. Make sure everyone's as separated as much as possible to achieve that goal. And I think it would be a different trend that The Legend of Korra would be going for if they went this route. Oh, anyway, the only reason I decided to do a flashback for this video is because I'm very lazy and I don't want to constantly repeat myself. So in addition to what I said in previous videos, like the only minor concern I have as of right now is, Kuvira herself. So far, out of all the antagonists thus far, she seems to be the least interesting next to Unalaq, in my personal opinion. I mean, granted, I do like her, and it's only episode 3, so it's too early to make judgment calls, but we did get a good look into her mental model. And basically, she's just a person who's obsessed with power, in addition with the ideology of, achieving peace through order. So if anything, I definitely look forward to the next couple of episodes just to get more insight into Kuvira herself, because I hope there's a little bit more to her than just that, otherwise she's just going to come off as a very typical antagonist. And as of right now, it seems like I'm definitely more intrigued by the potential international issues that involves the Earth Empire as opposed to Kuvira herself. So to reiterate my theory that I've mentioned multiple times on previous videos, I feel like a war is very appropriate for this book. A civil war at this point is kind of unnecessary just because Kuvira has a good chokehold on the Earth Empire now. So if anything, that's just gonna kind of agitate pretty much the rest of the world. So it's basically gonna be the Earth Empire versus everyone else. If anything, I'm only curious to see who will start the war. Will it be the Earth Empire or the rest of the world? Because so far it seems that Kuvira, like I said, is a separationist, and so long as no one interferes with the Earth Empire itself, everyone should get along, but that's most likely not going to happen. So if anything, I think the rest of the world is going to respond back. And because of that, that's how I think the Fire Nation is going to be attached to this book. As for the tree bark / root thing that Varrick got his hands on, the episode ended with a cliffhanger where Varrick said this is going to revolutionize everything, and this is what Kuvira is focusing all of her attention on. That's the big question that everyone is trying to answer. If I had to take a stab in the dark, it's probably going to be some sort of a fuel source or something, maybe as simple as the mecha tanks that they happen to have in their army, or I don't know, maybe some doomsday device. I don't know. Hopefully they don't do the doomsday device thing, because that's a little too cliche. If anything, it might be the idea of the roots being connected to everything, just like Toph was explaining that she was able to be connected to the entire world due to the swamp. So if we kind of take that idea and throw it onto what Kuvira could possibly use it for, maybe one of two things. Either she's going to use that to connect every mecha tank together as a single formed unit being controlled by a centralized network, so that only one person has to necessarily control the army itself and it doesn't need any other pilots anymore. Or two, Varric, or more specifically Kuvira, is doing extensive research as to why the spiritual world is so heavily integrated into the material world. Granted, everyone knows it's due to the harmonic convergence, but maybe they're using this opportunity to undo everything, so sever ties between both worlds, so that as a separationist, the Earth Empire will be free from not only other nations, but the spirits themselves. So that's pretty much what I think on that end. You know, don't take it too seriously. I'm just spitballing ideas. And if anything, the only thing left to talk about at this point is Korra and Toph. The only thing worth noting, personally, I think, is the fact that Korra is so far kind of hesitant to fully return back as an avatar, because, you know, she's resisting Toph while Toph is trying to help her take the remaining metal that apparently was still in Korra for the last 3 years. Another thing to mention is the fact that Toph was the one giving advice to Korra, because she even mentioned, if you want to be completely alone, just stay in the swamp. No one will ever bother you. So if anything, is it like Toph projecting her issues possibly onto Korra as well? Because, you know, she just up and left. You know, we never heard of Toph since. You know, no one could find her, and the swamp is a very isolated place, but it still allows you to be connected to everything else. So if anything, that kind of does raise some thoughts that are worth thinking about. So that pretty much wraps up this video, and I thought the episode was solid. If you guys liked the video, like the video. If you guys dislike it, completely understandable, no hard feelings. Comment down in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you guys are thinking about as of right now. Your theories, what you guys thought about my theories. I'm also open to constructive criticism, so don't worry, I am not that sensitive. Consider subscribing. We try to pump out this content as often as we could. And FYI, we officially have a Facebook and Tumblr page, so if you guys want to check us out on other mediums other than YouTube, the links are down in the description down below. Other than that, this is Jan, 1/3 of MediaShinobi, signing out, and I'll see you in the next video.